Objective or subjective. The problem for most people is if they decide they want to lose weight, if they decide they want to attract the right person into their life, if they decide that they listen to all of the negativity that's out there in the world, and they use that negativity to reinforce that they can't do something, and they stop. Instead of going right back to their imagination, you have to be a scurvy elephant on this. You do. The negativity that's out there will permeate. I love this story. I don't know if I can tell it on television, but I'm going to anyway. Told me by my friend Tom Barber. A couple from Nebraska had come to New York where they encountered sort of a New York attitude everywhere they went. And they weren't accustomed to this sort of fast-talking rudeness that they just weren't used to getting. And they were getting all day long, everywhere they went, they were getting it. Finally, it was 4:45 and they still hadn't seen the Empire State Building. And they went up to someone, a New Yorker on the street, and said, "Excuse me, can you tell us how to find the Empire State Building, or should we just go fuck ourselves?" I love that story for some reason. You're going to run into the attitudes that you can't do things over and over again. Particularly are you going to run into it in your families. But your friends are God's way of apologizing for your relatives. All right? And even with your relative, you can just not allow their belief that this is something that you can't have happen take you away from what you've already established in your imagination, because once you've established it in your imagination and you've assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled and you are acting as if this is your life, you start moving to an energy up here, an energy of all things are possible. I call it thinking with awareness. With God, it says in the New Testament, with God, all things are what? Possible. What does that leave out? What does all things are possible leave out? Leaves out nothing, doesn't it? That's the scripture, and that's in virtually all spiritual teaching. When you move and elevate your life to the higher place and become the God within, you're omniscient, you're all-knowing, you're all-powerful. It's in your mind, and you never allow anybody else's opinion to do anything other than take you back to the place in your imagination where it will be fulfilled. Now, the fifth step here is called your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is a very intriguing thing. If you listen to my friend Bruce Lipton, who will be speaking here this weekend, and he's really terrific. He wrote a book that I promoted on my public television special, The Biology of Belief. It transformed my life because it taught me that even our DNA, even our genetics, the science of epigenetics, is the science where we begin to realize that our thinking, our thoughts, our way of processing and perceiving the world can alter even our genes, our genetic structure. You think a little thing like leukemia is going to stop me when I know that I can change my genetic structure and alter that? It's just another one of those challenges. Who would like a cup? Stand up, the lady in green, but you got to catch it. What was that? I just been speaking for 3 hours and you say I might not be able to catch it? It's all those people around you. Oh my goodness, God bless you. Enjoy it. The biology of belief. Your subconscious mind is where you do virtually all of the things that you do. Your subconscious mind, it gets programmed, and your subconscious mind, like I'm in London last fall, giving a lecture over there. They picked me up at the hotel, and I have to give a lecture across London, across town. And the guy who picked me up to take me to my talk was from Afghanistan. And he's driving a stick shift, one of those black cabs, okay? And he's got, 3 pedals and 2 feet and going through traffic like you've never seen in London. I don't know if you've been in London, but he was even telling me that in 1905, you could get across London faster than you can today with cars. That's how long it takes. Just a lot like the inner city of New York City. But he was whipping around through the different and talking to me about the Pashtuns and what it was like and why the Taliban were doing what they were doing and why I was taking notes. I learned more about Afghanistan than I ever did watching anything on television, all right? And 45 minutes later, we pull up there, and not once did the guy ever think about what he was doing. Not once did he think about where his feet were going. Not once did he. And you all do it the same. You get into your car, and who drives your car? Your subconscious mind. You're not thinking like you did when you first learned to drive. I taught driver education for 4 years. When I was first starting out, it was my second job. You have to tell, I would tell the girls, I taught it in all girls schools, I'd say, okay, turn into that driveway over there, and you'd be going along 30 miles an hour. Okay, they turn away. No, you slow down first. And you all know how to do this because your subconscious mind does the driving, right? Your subconscious mind cannot make a distinction between what it is that you are experiencing in your life and what you believe and what you think. It's all the same to your subconscious mind. If your thoughts are on, I can't do something, that's no different than you're not being able to do it physically. If your thoughts are on, I can do it, but your physical body is not able to do it, your subconscious mind starts programming you to, I can do do it. You want your subconscious mind to be the driving force in your life so that you get onto automatic pilot and you're always thinking about and attracting into your life the right people, the right events, the right circumstances, because when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, Neville said, you take these ideas and turn them into concepts. You turn the concepts into conditions. You turn the conditions into circumstances, and you turn the circumstances into objects, and you turn the objects into the facts of your life. You start with the assumption. That's how it works. So your subconscious mind, you've got to remember, you're programming it all the time. I can't do this. It's not possible to do that. These are the reasons why this, and explaining all of the things that have happened to you and shouldn't have happened to you and are happening. That's the subconscious mind at work. Now, I've moved through these steps rather quickly, but I want to take you to the last 5 minutes. And the last 5 minutes of the day, this is tonight, when you get into bed, I want you to start reprogramming your subconscious mind, because it's your subconscious mind that is allowing all of the things to take place in your life that you don't like, that you don't want. So if you get into bed tonight and you know you're going to go to sleep in 5 minutes, do you want to spend the next 5 minutes preparing yourself to marinate for the next 8 hours in I can't do it or I can? Do you want to spend the next 5 minutes preparing yourself to marinate in it's never going to work out for me versus it has to work out for me? Do you want to spend the next 5 minutes thinking about all the reasons why you're unhappy and pissed off? Or do you want to think about the next marinating in the things that are going to bring bliss into your life? Because if you spend the last 5 minutes of your life, of your night, getting ready to marinate in what can't be done, what is wrong, all the things that happened in the last 24 hours that you don't like, all the things that pissed you off about what he said and what she said and how that, and the traffic, and things are never going to work out. If you spend the 5 minutes preparing yourself to go in, because while you're sound asleep, your subconscious mind takes over. And you have 8 hours, you have 1/3 of your life to prepare yourself for how you're going to deal with the rest of your life. What is tomorrow going to look like? Well, if you program yourself as you go off to sleep, reminding yourself of all the things that you don't like, the universe is going to offer you experiences that match up to what you don't like and what you don't want and what is missing and what other people have and you don't. You don't want to use your mind to train your subconscious mind to act like that, because you will align with ordinary rather than with the superconscious. So the last 5 minutes, you have 8 hours you're preparing for. You want to get images. You want to get that higher self, that little thing I talked about several hours ago, where you get that current going between this higher self. And when I meditate, I look up and I use this as I see this higher part of myself. I have my eyes closed and then I look down, and from down I look up, and I'm asking this higher part of me to reach down and get that current going. And if I can do that consistently, I can eliminate this lower self altogether. And ultimately, the highest place is that place where you start to ask the questions. This is the last step. Why didn't it work? So I'm being interviewed by ABC News, and some of you probably saw it. They followed me around for days. They sent people out to Maui. They sent people to Los Angeles. They filmed me in New York. They spent 7-8 hours. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then they did 4 minutes on the world news on Sunday, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And all they talked about was my leukemia and why, if what I was saying was true, then I wouldn't have leukemia in my body and you shouldn't listen to me. I just don't ever remember saying that if you listen to me, your body will never ever break down and you're going to live forever. I don't remember ever saying that, because it isn't whether or not leukemia comes into my body. It's how I process it and what I think about it. And I don't think much about it at all. So the fellow who was interviewing me, his name was Dan Harris. And Dan is about 5'7" or 8, and maybe it weighs 140 pounds. And he said, so you're telling me, after listening to me and talking to me and interviewing me, he said, you're telling me that if I follow your advice and do what you're saying about wishes fulfilled, that no matter what, I can become a linebacker for the New York Giants. I said, does that feel natural to you? And he said, no. I said, then it won't work. He said, the degree to which what it is that you put into your imagination, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, program your subconscious mind, the degree to which it will work will depend upon how natural it feels for you. If it doesn't feel natural, if you've been an addict all of your life, if you've been overweight all of your life, it's not going to feel natural to you. You're going to have to work at making it feel natural, and you won't imagine yourself doing things that you're just not going to do in this life. At 5'7" and 140 pounds, the chances of being a linebacker on a professional football are impossible, right? It's just not going to happen. So it doesn't feel natural. So you got to have it feel natural, okay? Those are the steps. I'm going to just take the last 5 minutes, just like tonight when you go to sleep, and I'm going to ask you to take everything off of your lap, if you will, please. And I'd like you to put both of your feet on the floor. I just forgot to mention, we just have a brand new 6 CD set out called Making the Shift, which takes this into much more depth, and which is now available, just came out. But I'd like to play for you you something that will help you to reach that higher place that I've been speaking about. Remember, if you want to elevate your consciousness, you have to change your concept of yourself. Your concept of yourself is everything you believe to be true, but everything that you believe to be true has gotten you to where you are. You want to believe something new now to be true about yourself. And you do that through the kind of programming that I've been speaking about here the last half hour. And what I'd like to do is play for you a song that was written back in the 18th century by a person who went in a moment of what they call Satori, an instant awakening, a visit from Christ consciousness, if you will. Here was a man, John Newton was his name. He was 22 years old, and he was a slave trader. He ran a ship between Senegal in West Africa and Columbia, South Carolina, trading human beings into slavery in this hideous, nefarious practice that was so commonplace in the 17th and 18th centuries all over the planet. And he had the people tied up in knots underneath the holds, and he could hear their wailing and moaning and so on. And as he was crossing, he ran into a storm. It was probably a hurricane, and he really thought that he was going to die. And very often these moments of near death really transform us. And he heard the wailing of a black man underneath the hold, and from that wailing, it is said that he wrote the words to a song on the back of an envelope. I once was lost, and now I'm found. And he called it grace. It was grace that taught my heart to feel. It was grace, he said, that brought me home. Now, it's been sung by many people and many times. You've heard it over and over again, but you've never heard it like this, because it is sung by Cecilia, who has one of the real profound voices, the second most beautiful voice I've ever heard. Better say that. It's true. And I asked her to put together 10 of the songs that really inspire me and that I run my life by. Amazing Grace, Prayer of St. Francis, You Raise Me Up, From a Distance, Ave Maria, Over the Rainbow, I Believe, May It Be, The Rose. Incredible, beautiful music. Her name is Cecilia. She was the first person in the history of the Oslo Conservatory of Music to go through the entire program with a perfect score on all facets of voice. She reaches the 10th octave, and you'll hear it in here. And she's accompanied by the whales, who live right outside my front door on Maui, the humpbacks. They're just leaving. And the sound of these whales, and getting these whales into the sound booth and getting headphones on them, we spared no expense in bringing this to you. But the sounds of the whales are sounds that I hear every day in the 6 months that they are there, because you can go under the water, you can actually hear them talking to each other with these great sounds. And this piece of music I have in my car, it can move the traffic. It's a way to get that current going between the higher and the lower self. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cecilia, accompanied by the whales, singing John Newton's Amazing Grace. And I want you to know that when the storm passed, John Newton returned to Africa, freed all of the people that were in the holds, returned to Bristol in England, and for the next 55 years became the most ardent spokesman for the abolition of slavery. It happened in one moment. So here it is, found. And it was grace that taught my heart to feel. You were touched by that. I'd like to give you a copy of it. Would you like this? There you go, for you. And here's my daughter's CD, You Inspire Me, as well. So we've come to the end. The words of Patanjali ring in my ears as I was listening to that beautiful rendition of Cecilia. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talent come alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Because in every moment, ladies and gentlemen, of your life, you have this choice. You can either be a host to God,